Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. Tonight we devote the entire show to the all-party parliamentary delegation that spent 2 days in the valley and this afternoon in Jammu. For many, the real focus was the hope the delegation might open a door for talks that could restore order and perhaps start a dialogue to resolve the deeper problem in the valley. My guest today is the General Secretary of the Communist Party Marxist and its Rajya Sabha leader, who made a deliberate and determined attempt to speak with Hurriyat's leaders, unfortunately without great success. Joining me from Jammu is Sitaram Yechury to talk about his visit to Srinagar, his meeting with Hurriyat leaders, his perception of the situation and the steps that he believes are vital and necessary. Sitaram Yechury, you're speaking to me from Jammu. How would you describe the all-party delegation visit to Srinagar which has just ended? Would you accept that it wasn't fully successful?
Yes, it wasn't fully successful. I mean, there should have been much better homework. I mean, that didn't happen, unfortunately. But nevertheless, the delegation going there itself has a salutary effect.
When you say there should have been more homework, are you suggesting that you were let down by lack of adequate preparation and arrangement?
Number one, what I say is that they should have been 2 months earlier. The fact that it came 2 months late, but nevertheless it came, it was good. But there was adequate homework needed to be done, and the effort should have been, like the Prime Minister himself said, finally, that we should meet and speak to all the stakeholders. That somehow did happen.
Now, you met with Shabir Shah and Abdul Ghani, but I believe you had 2 meetings with Mirwais Umar Farooq. Let's start with those 3. What did they say to you?
Well, you see, out of the 5 that we wanted to meet, except for Mr. Gilani, we met all the other 4. We met the Mirwais, we met Yasin Malik, we met Shabir Shah, we met the professor, and all of them had said that the Hurriyat had taken the position of not speaking to anybody in the delegation on the political issues for a political dialogue. But nevertheless, since we went and met them, I think it was good that this happened, because we had another objective.
What was the other objective?
The objective was to actually send our intention and the signal clear to the people of Kashmir that yes, here are members of the Indian parliamentary delegation who are willing to meet all the stakeholders, and on this there has been a general unanimity in Delhi, including the Prime Minister when he said that. So we made the effort. We have today expressed our anguish at what is happening in the valley, our sympathies and solidarity with the people of Kashmir. We want to end this situation, restore peace and normalcy. Okay. That cannot happen unless there is a political dialogue with all the stakeholders. Now, and we conveyed that intention, which is what was our objective.
It's reported that you had 2 meetings with Mirwais Umar Farooq, one late last evening and another one apparently this morning. What prompted the second meeting with the Mirwais?
No, in fact, there was no second meeting with the Mirwais. That's a wrong report. There was only one meeting, that was the day earlier, where the Mirwais, along with the others, also said the collective Hurriyat decision, to be fair with them. So we generally exchanged intention and expressed to him our desire that normalcy should return and peace and normalcy should be there, open a political dialogue whose first short-term objective is to restore normalcy now. The long-term objective is to work towards a political solution.
Did the Mirwais or Yasin Malik or Professor Abdul Ghani Bhatt indicate what would be the conditions that would have to be met if Hurriyat were to hold talks with Indian politicians? Did they indicate what steps are needed before they are willing to talk?
No, they did not, but I think it is very obvious, no, Karan, if you look at it, that the invitation, or let's say the initiative, must come from the government of India. Whoever be the government, that initiative must come from there. And please remember, even in the past when parliamentary delegations have visited the valley, I was part of them. We met Mr. Gilani then, and then it helped in restoring normalcy in the valley. But nothing of the follow-up has actually ever happened. And that is the biggest, I mean, what you call negative aspect of such delegations. Because people feel that they just come as a formality and nothing happens after that.
You're saying that, in fact, a formal invitation should go from the government. However, at his press conference this afternoon, when Home Minister Rajnath Singh was asked about the letter Mehbooba Mufti had written to Hurriyat inviting them for talks in her capacity as PDP chairperson, the Home Minister simply acknowledged that such a letter was written. He didn't express any approval of the letter. Many people are interpreting his answer actually as an attempt to distance himself and his government from what Mehbooba Mufti did. What do you make of the Home Minister's response? Do you believe he's simply playing safe, or is he distancing himself from what Mehbooba did, perhaps even suggesting differences within the PDP, BJP over this matter?
That is the whole problem. There seems to be total lack of clarity between the two and in how to approach on this issue. Now, what we had requested is that the same letter that goes out to various other stakeholders, and large number of them who met us these 1.5 days, the same letter should go out to the Hurriyat leaders as well. But that didn't happen. So on this, they'll have to answer, the BJP and the PDP. And even in the discussions yesterday, a large number of stakeholders raised this issue of the disquiet in the valley because of this alliance between the PDP and the BJP being one of the factors.
Can I ask you this?
These are important issues which the government has to answer.
Mr. Yechury, can I ask you this? You know and I know that the BJP-PDP agenda for alliance commits the alliance government in Srinagar to holding talks with Hurriyat. Did you ask Mr. Rajnath Singh, given that there's this commitment in the agenda for alliance, why is he reluctant to formally invite the Hurriyat? Did you ask him that in those so many terms?
We did. We did, and in fact we said, and we did not only stop at the agenda for governance, we said the Prime Minister also, after meeting the leaders of the opposition from Kashmir and J&K Assembly, he also said that there should be talks with all the stakeholders. So we asked them both. But then the answer we got was that the Home Minister said, I have publicly announced that all those willing to come and meet the delegation are most welcome. That I don't think is a way of inviting anybody, because all others were sent specific invitation letters.
So you're saying something very important. The Home Minister's position vis-a-vis Hurriyat is that I'm open to talking to them if they turn up, but I won't send them a formal invitation to come and talk to me. In other words, let them knock on my door, I won't invite them.
That's what it appears. That's what it appears. That's what is happening.
One other thing, Saeed Ali Shah Gilani, who today's Hindu newspaper says is fast emerging as the leader of the Hurriyat grouping, refused to meet with you. He refused even to allow you to enter his home. Now, both Home Minister Rajnath Singh and Jammu and Kashmir's Finance Minister Hasib Drabu have said this was discourteous, it wasn't in keeping with Kashmiri traditions. In fact, the Home Minister Rajnath Singh said this wasn't Kashmiriyat or Insaniyat, and it certainly wasn't helping Jamhuriyat. How do you personally view Gilani's behavior?
You see, personally, I have no grouse or no complaint. I'll tell you why. Because Mr. Gilani may have taken a political position of not wanting to talk to us. Now, if he's taken that position, let him. But our point of going to his door, I've been to that house earlier, and it helped in 2010. Our point of going there is to tell the people of Kashmir that here are Indian parliamentarians who are prepared to talk to all stakeholders to restore peace and normalcy. And we want to restore peace and normalcy through a political dialogue which is unconditional and which will also lay the basis for a final political solution. That message was to be conveyed to the people of Kashmir who are suffering. And to them, I think that message was conveyed. And I think that was my particular purpose. So I have really no personal grudges or let's say, that I take offense to the fact that this is not Mehman Nawazi of the Kashmiri variety. That, I mean, there may be the political considerations, but this is the point that we wanted to prove.
Let me put this to you. Although Ghulam Nabi Azad, Congress's leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha, said the government should speak to all stakeholders, absolutely no one from Congress met any member of the Hurriyat. And secondly, Kharge, their leader in the Lok Sabha, on at least 1 or 2 television channels, distanced himself from the effort you and your other colleagues made when you met with Hurriyat. So what do you make of Congress's attitude?
That is for them to answer. You see, it was the Congress-led government, it was Mr. Chidambaram as the Home Minister. In 2010, when I said I wanted to go and meet them, the first day they were reluctant, the second day they permitted. Even this time, going to meet the Hurriyat leaders cannot happen without the permission of the Government of India. Please remember that. Nobody can meet the Hurriyat, or nobody can the Hurriyat meet without the government agreeing. So obviously here the current Home Minister agreed to what we had proposed, and only on that basis we could go to these people. So therefore what the Congress is doing is something they'll have to answer. I mean, you know, why were the interlocutors' reports not being considered at all when the Congress was in government? So they have a lot to explain themselves.
Absolutely. Let's come back to the effort you made to meet Hurriyat. You said it was important to send this message. The question is, how relevant in the present circumstances is Hurriyat? There is a view that the control of the present protests either lies with unknown, unidentified, dispersed elements in the countryside, or it lies very possibly with the Jamaat-e-Islami. Hurriyat, many people believe, has become of secondary importance.
Yes. Yes, there is a very strong point and argument in that. But we were not, at least I was not wanting to meet the Hurriyat because they were leading these protests. I wanted to meet them as part of meeting all the stakeholders. Now, the second thing is, yes, what you said is correct. All the reports and all that we heard yesterday indicate that the leadership of the current movement in the valley is not really in the control of the Hurriyat. Now, but we really have to know a lot more information about that, which is at the moment not at my command. But the fact is that you please consider one point. Most of these disturbances are occurring in those parts of Kashmir which are the strongholds of the PDP. Now this has 2 implications. Either there is a disquiet and discontent over the PDP-BJP alliance, and also because of this discontent, there are some others who in this turf war are trying to take over the space occupied by the PDP. So there are all these factors at work.
Give me your assessment of the situation in the valley. We know that curfew has once again been reimposed practically all over the valley, and this clearly suggests that without curfew, there is no way of keeping control in the urban centers. There are reports that the Indian state may have effectively lost control in the countryside. Is your assessment of the situation reflecting that particular viewpoint?
Well, unfortunately, you see, what our assessment from what we learnt, the reports that we got in the last 1.5 days, is that yes, there is an ineffectivity that can be seen by all imposition of curfew and things like that, and particularly in rural Kashmir. Earlier disturbances, we never saw penetration into rural Kashmir to the nature we have seen now. And secondly, the social composition, the women, the children who are now coming out. I mean, this is very, very disturbing. I mean, there is something, what I also said in the parliament, the trust deficit today is actually, I think it's one of its peaks. Now this has to be very, very urgently addressed.
I'll come to that in a moment's time.
That is my assessment of the current situation, and that
I'll come to the trust deficit and how it has to be addressed in a moment's time. Let me first ask you about certain short-term measures that need to be taken to restore order and to control and minimize the protests. Do you believe the step that's been announced today, that Pava shells will be used instead of pellet guns, although pellet guns will still be reserved for what are called the rarest of rare occasions? Do you believe that is an effective first step, or do you think it's inadequate?
No, that is welcome in the sense that at least finally this decision has come. But that is not adequate. As we would say, that's one of the necessary conditions, but not sufficient.
What more is needed?
There minimum five measures. I'll tell you. One is that these pellet guns, what we talked about. The second is to give adequate care and compensation to those who have died, their families, or those who are injured and those who are today languishing, battling to save their site.
Number three?
That is second. The third is, if there are excesses committed by the security forces, let them be investigated, and on the basis of that, established the excesses, then action should be taken. The fourth is that withdraw the AFSPA from your civilian areas. Withdraw the AFSPA from civilian areas is the fourth. And the fifth, many long-standing projects for development and most importantly employment generation. This employment generation is an issue that's not only in Kashmir, it's there in Jammu, it's there in Ladakh, it's there for the youth of this entire state. All the projects that we have announced, they need to proceed with a time-bound program so that the confidence is there in the youth of J&K about their future and their prospects.
Let me come, Mr. Yechury.
I think that must be announced.
Mr. Yechury, let me come to what many believe, and which I know you agree with, is the real challenge. Reaching out to the disaffected and the alienated, many of whom, perhaps most of whom, have by now also additionally lost faith and trust in India. Do you have any idea or suggestion about how this should be done? Because this is the real challenge.
Yes, I do. You see, the first priority is now to stop this chaos, mayhem, and the agony that the people are suffering.
And then?
But that can be done through a political dialogue without any preconditions with all the stakeholders. Now, from that, you build to the final solution. And what I would suggest is that from 1948, from the day Kashmir, the Dogra Empire, acceded to the Indian Union, this is an integral part of India. That is something that is irreversible now. But from 1948, the promises that were made to the state, to all the three regions in the state, not only to Kashmir, the promises that were made to the state continuously have been betrayed. Now revisit from 48 onwards. Let us dispassionately revisit what was given as 370 for the whole of J&K. Why is it now being confined only to certain pockets of J&K? What went wrong? How do you reverse the damages that were done? You must address that question. That is only when the distrust deficit can be overcome.
What you're suggesting...
Distrust deficit even here in Jammu today, where I'm sitting.
What you're suggesting, Mr. Yechury, is that the situation from accession in 47, by the way, accession was 47 or 48, but leave that aside. You're saying that all the reversal of the promises... You're saying all the promises that were broken from 47 must be revisited and relooked at, and to the extent possible rewound.
Yeah.
And to the extent possible rewound.
Yes.
How much would you rewind? For instance, would you go back to the position in 65 of calling the Chief Minister Wazir-e-Azam and calling the Governor Sadr-e-Riyasat? Would you accept that?
No, what I'm suggesting now is not stepping back from anything. Neither am I saying you reverse anything. All I'm saying is revisit. Why I said 48 was not that 48 was the accession point. When you started making the special arrangements for the state of Jammu and Kashmir.
Mr. Yechury, you keep using the word revisit. Are you suggesting that all the changes that have happened, all the betrayals as you call them from 48 onwards, need to be revisited with an open mind to keep what's necessary, but also to rewind what's deemed not to be necessary. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You see what was there in the decade of the 40s and 50s regarding telecommunications, for instance. That is not relevant today any longer with your technological advances. So there will be many things that we'll have to, make many substantial changes.
Two quick questions.
But the point is, agree to revisit and begin that process.
Two quick questions. Have you raised this idea with the Home Minister? Do you have any sense of whether the Home Minister and the Prime Minister are willing to do what you're saying, which is revisit from 48 onwards with an open mind and possibly rewind what is no longer necessary?
I have raised it, but I've honestly not got any response. Now I will raise it again, and I think there's a lot of baggage that can be dropped if we actually do a proper revisiting. That should be done. I'll take it up with them again.
A second last question. What is your assessment of the Mehbooba Mufti BJP PDP government? They are battling what is perhaps the worst crisis Kashmir has faced since its succession. Are they capable of handling this huge challenge, or do you have reservations and doubts?
Well, they surely will be capable if there is a commonality of approach. And that commonality of approach, if it's on the agenda for governance, then that should be seen in reality and in practice. The agenda for governance, for instance, talking to all stakeholders, has not been seen in practice.
Okay.
There are issues that I hope they will be able to resolve, but
My last question, Mr. Yechury, after your visit to the valley, and in the light of your assessment of the state and central government's views, are you worried about the situation in Kashmir and the way it might develop if the sort of steps you think are necessary don't happen?
I'm worried if some of these absolutely necessary steps are not taken. If they are taken, I'm confident that we will have absolute normalcy, and the paradise on earth can return to be the paradise on earth again.
But if those steps are not taken, what might the outcome be?
I'm sorry? You're gone.
If those steps are not taken, what might the outcome be?
Then we have to brace ourselves to very dangerous situations. But I'm not hoping that such a situation will come. We will also make all efforts possible to make sure that such an eventuality does not arise. We will try our best.
All right, Mr. Yechury, let's leave it there. My thanks to you for joining me in the middle of the all-party delegation talks in Jammu. I'm very grateful that you spared time. Time for a break, but we continue to discuss the all-party delegation visit to Jammu and Kashmir. After the break, I'm going to be joined by one of the most senior members of the ruling PDP, former Deputy Chief Minister and former Finance Minister, Muzafar Hussain Baig. See you in a moment's time.